I think in this day and age, everyone who's in business needs to be a publisher. You need to be a publisher, whether you're publishing to create awareness and build leads, whether you're reaching out to your current clients to build reciprocity and community, or whether you're looking to really build out the online portion of your business. You need to be in the publishing business. You need to regularly publish.
Hello, Profit First entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I am so excited today because we have a super special guest. We have New York Times bestselling author Jeff Walker here with us today. And Jeff is the creator of the Product Launch Formula course. He started publishing in actually 1996, right after quitting his corporate job and being a stay-at-home father, right? And he started with this newsletter of just 19 people. And after that start, he really developed a successful formula for launching new ideas and products online, and soon began teaching others how to launch their own ideas online. And Jeff today has received more and more invitations to teach for groups on how to use his formula to launch their own products and businesses. And he also has a step-by-step program called the Product Launch Formula. And in 2012, Jeff Walker was the internet entrepreneur extraordinaire and the $400 million man. He got that award from Forbes for growing his business from scratch. So please join me today and welcome Jeff Walker. And we're going to talk about how his students have been able to generate over $1 billion in sales. And this is just a figure that continues to grow. So please join me in welcoming Jeff Walker to the platform. Hey, Jeff, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Susanne?
And congratulations on your new book.
Well, thank you.
We'll have to talk about that too, so that people can go out and get that book this week because it is a big deal. So we definitely want people checking out this book. So tell me, Jeff, first of all, we love to know about your journey. Tell us about your journey. How did you get on this journey? And tell us about it.
It's been an amazing, crazy ride. So the bio you just read, the one tweak I would make to that was I left the corporate world and I didn't get started right away. I was actually a stay-at-home dad for about 5 years before anything was going on. And my wife was supporting the family. She had a good job, but it was times were tight. We were scraping by. And I had 2 young children at home, and like 5 and 3 or something like that, 5 and 2. And I was just looking for some way to try to make some money. And after being a stay-at-home dad for a number of years, I left the corporate world with my tail tucked between my legs. I didn't do very well in the corporate world. I didn't fit. So I was looking for something to do. So I had been online and I had a passion about the stock market. So I started publishing a newsletter. And like you just mentioned, the first one went out to 17 people. That's everyone I knew that had an email address. And it gradually started to grow by word of mouth. And by the end of that year, I had several hundred people subscribing to it. And I had this idea, well, maybe they'll actually buy something from me if I offered something to them. And at that point, I had no marketing experience, no sales experience, no entrepreneurial experience. I had sort of a dismal corporate career for a few years. That was it. I wasn't a stockbroker. I wasn't a registered investment advisor. I had no credentials after my name, but I had a passion about the stock market, and I had a lot to share about it. And so I came up with this idea for an enhanced version of this free newsletter I've been sending out for 6 months. And then my next problem was, how do I sell this thing? Since I had no sales experience. And since I had this feeling that, boy, these people are getting my free newsletter, they really love me. They write back to me. They feel like they're my friends. They're my community. And are they going to hate me if I try to sell something to them? And so I came up with this process where I just romanced them for about a month with really great, powerful content that naturally led into making the offer. And then in early 1997, I launched that. I didn't think of it as a launch. I didn't know what I thought. It was so bare bones, so basic, so seat of the pants. You can't even imagine it. In fact, to show you how much, like when it came time to actually say, okay, this thing's available, you can buy it, I sent out an email that told everyone all about it And then at the bottom, I put a bunch of blank lines for them to like fill in their information. And I said, print this out, write a check, and send it to me in the mail. Because taking online transactions, online credit cards was like rocket science in 1997. And so amazingly, a few people took me up on that, and I did $1,650 in sales, which for me was, everyone has a different frame of reference on money. For some people, that's like amazing. For me, I was like, if I could have done a backflip, I would have been doing backflips all the way down the street. It was so amazing to make that money. And it was a big deal for our family. And I had this thought that if I did this once, I can do it again, and I can do it again and again, and I might even get better at it. And, just the idea that someone would pay me for something that I created and that I was going to send to them digitally, that it was 100% digital product. They were going to get an email newsletter from me. It was amazing. And sure enough, I was able to do it again, and I did get better. My next launch did $6,000, so almost 4x result. And then I did $8,000. And then I just kept on getting better. My marketing chops got better. My offers got better. My products got better. And by summer of 98, I did a launch that did like $34,000 in a single week. That was as much money as I'd ever made in my corporate career in an entire year. And that was when I started talking to my wife, Mary, about coming home and being with me and the kids and help me grow the business. And that's what we did. By 99, she was home. By 2000, we moved out, and I lived at that point in the Denver area, but we always wanted to live out in the mountains. So by 2000, we went out to our dream hometown. I live in Durango, Colorado, which is way out in the mountains, 300 miles from Denver. And it just kept on going. It didn't stop there. It grew and grew and grew. And then in 2005, I had a bit of a change in direction. And at that point, I started teaching. All this time, I had amassed all this marketing knowledge, these skills, this process, this formula for how to launch. And so in 2005, I started teaching that. Well, in 2003, I took on a few coaching clients, and I helped out a few friends, proved that it could work in other markets besides just in my business and the stock market newsletters. And in 2005, came out with this product launch formula, this online course. Well, back then it wasn't an online course. It was a bunch of DVDs and CDs and books and stuff. But now it's an online course. And since then, it's just been one evolution after another. And my students and clients have now done over $1 billion, billion with a B, $1 billion in sales. So it sounds crazy to say this, but that formula that I sort of stumbled onto and gradually refined has literally changed the way stuff is sold online.
Oh, wow. I love that. So you guys, you really need to get this book that just got released, re-released, right? It looks like maybe a few weeks ago, the book launched. So, because you got the original book that's outdated now, the world has changed. So everything has changed. So Jeff has spent a lot of time just updating this book and putting in great new technology. So you guys got to definitely check out this book. It's amazing. And so let's talk about it. We've got quite a bit of an audience there that's in that manufacturing space, right? And, they're used to selling to Bed Bath & Beyond. They're used to selling to Whole Foods. But, now there's this big push to really do direct to consumer and maybe not go through those retailers, right? Because one, retailers aren't necessarily getting the foot traffic that they used to get. And, there's just a whole new way of doing things. So tell us about how do we start to pivot our manufacturing businesses from, used to like going to find that middleman, right? For that direct to consumer.
Well, it's interesting because in this new version, so most of my clients are selling digital products. They have online courses, they have memberships, they have coaching programs. So most of them are doing some form of digital delivery. However, probably about, 10% of my clients have physical products and are more like a traditional business. But the reality is, of course, the world's changed radically in the last 20 years, but in the last 18 months, everything's been turned upside down. And in the book, one of the people I talk about, because I love to teach from example. And I love the examples to not be me. I love them to be my students' examples. And so one of them is with Amy Small. And Amy has a business where she creates custom yarn. And before I got to know Amy, I didn't know that much about yarn, but I've learned people are incredibly passionate about knitting and crochet. And it's like, if you're into knitting and crochet, you can just never have enough yarn. It's just always looking at yarn, always wanting to get yarn. And so she makes this custom hand spun yarn that she sources in India, imports here, and sells it. And so this business is not new. It's been around for a number of years. And she used to sell to yarn stores, and then the yarn stores would sell her product out. But because her yarn is so custom, it's almost like there's a story behind it. There's a connection behind it. There's a community behind it. And the kind of projects you do with it are not just your normal everyday, you're going to make a scarf, you're going to make an infinity scarf. It's not just regular old projects, knitting projects. And the problem is when she sold through retail stores, the stores, they weren't interested in that story, or they didn't have the capability to tell that story. And she had no contact with her end customers. Now that Amy came into my world, she started building up a presence. She started publishing, started building a small email list that's grown over the years. And now she sells direct to her clients. Her life is transformed, not the least because she has this connection with her clients, and she's passionate about her product. She's passionate about knitting, and she loves to share that passion. And she actually does these knit-alongs where people will, when they buy her product, they're actually also joining a membership where they get to knit a project. It's amazing, the community she's built. But what has also happened is her margins have just increased dramatically, because now she's selling direct to consumer instead of through the middleman, instead of through the yarn stores. So her margins have exploded. She actually now, when people go through her knit along, people can get one-on-one help from a coach that she has a group of coaches she's hired, and they'll actually work with people one-on-one to help them with their knitting project, which these projects can be very, very complex. So she has enough margin where she can actually pay those coaches. That margin used to go to the yarn store. And now think about it. Now she's helping people actually create these projects. And so her word of mouth, people are talking about her. They're sharing these projects, and her business has grown and grown and grown. She recently did a launch where she did, in the first hour that the product was available. And since we're online, we can do things like we can have a launch where we can count down to the actual minute when it opens up and registration or sale starts. In her first hour, she sold over $100,000 worth of yarn. In 1 hour, $100,000 in yarn. I mean, this is like, it's not messing around. And she never had that kind of, I haven't actually asked her, but her profit in that 1 hour, I wonder what it is in relation to what a year of profit would be in her old business. And I have a feeling it would stand up pretty well to it. I don't know I haven't asked her that specific question, but it just goes to show an example of how going direct to consumer, your margins can go through the roof, but also your volume can go through the roof as you get pass along traffic. And also, these days you can advertise. I mean, online advertising has never been simpler or easier. When I started, there was really no platforms, but now anyone could be an advertiser on Facebook within minutes. And you can start at $3 a day or $5 a day, and everything is trackable. So it's not like you're just buying an ad in a newspaper or an ad on radio and hoping people show up and you don't really know. Online, it's all trackable. So, this idea of going direct to consumer is something we're seeing more and more of.
I love that. That is really neat. I mean, I work with some manufacturing companies, and I don't think I've seen anyone make $100,000 in an hour, like
Right.
cold like that. Usually there's
Right.
at least a trip to someplace on an airplane and pretty
Right.
substantial.
And and Amy, I mean, it's a physical product. She's got real costs. She sources it from India. So, I mean, it's not like it's all just magic, but outside of product cost, she has no marketing cost. She's built up this following, and she has a huge percentage of people that once they go through one knit along, they go through the next one and the next one. So her cost of customer acquisition is incredibly low. And she'll have fulfillment costs to ship stuff out, but still, it's it's just absolutely amazing.
That is amazing. And because she's built a following, and I love how you said that, she reinvested back into coaches, right? That give even more value to the client. So it becomes more of, like what's Amy's next project for this month for us? You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't wait to get started on that. So that's really neat. Now, Jeff, you said something very interesting that's really kind of a new concept for us brick and mortar businesses, as businesses that have a product based type of business, and I've seen a lot of coaches do it, but the fact that it's building almost like a community, right? Building that tribe online. And we like to call it the cult following around here. Tell us about that. Tell us what that looks like. How do you build that? And because obviously, like Amy has lifetime customers now, right? And as long as they can knit and crochet, they're going to be there for us. How do we build that?
Well, that's it's one of the most let's back up. It's one of the things I value the most. I personally am all about building communities, and in my world, I have clients. So my first version of my product launch formula course came out in October 2005. And I have clients that joined me in October 2005 that are still clients to this day. And part of that, I mean, they're getting great results from my work, and they feel a connection to me, but they also feel a connection to the community. And community has become something that since the start of COVID, has just become so much more valued. We used to say that, like in my world, in this online world, I think it probably is for all business, but this online world is the world I know best. We used to say that they come for the content and they stay for the community. So community is how you make your product, your offer, your service sticky, where people don't want to leave. But you couldn't actually sell community. You'd sell on the basis of your product and the results that product would make and the transformation it would make in someone's life. And then after they bought the product, then you would also give them the community, and and all of a sudden, it's 2 years later and they can't leave you because they love the community. So you couldn't actually sell make that. You wouldn't make it a big part of the offer. You wouldn't make it a big part of and you're going to get this amazing community, because people are like, whatever, I don't care. I don't need it. I'm not looking for a community. I'm already busy. Now, since the start of COVID, I think we all I think we collectively as a species, we've come to really value the connection with others. And when we had it taken away from us, we realized how much we missed it. And so these days you can actually lean into selling community. It's not the only thing you're selling, but you can talk about community. And so, online, there's all kinds of different ways communities can grow. They can grow in a Facebook group. They can grow in the comments section on a blog post. They can grow in a membership site. But once you if you think about it, like who are Amy's people? They're people that are passionate about knitting, and they're facing a big obstacle creating these sweaters. I've seen them. They're really cool, but they're not just like your average boring sweater. They're these amazing works of art, and it's a challenge. I mean, I'm not a knitter, but I have seen it. I've seen the work. I've seen how her people react to her and her coaches. And so when people are working through challenges together and they share a common affinity, you have the makings of community. And all you have to do is give them the space to connect and sort of set the ground rules. That's a critical part. Whenever you're leading the community, you have to tell people this is who we are. This is how we interact. This is how we take care of each other. This is the stuff that kind of actions that we can't abide, that we can't allow. And this is why, because this community is too important. And we can't let, any one bad apple spoil the bunch. So don't do these things, but do these things. Asking questions is always good. It gets us all better. Sharing your wins is always good. This is a safe place where, maybe you can't brag to your parents or your kids or your friends, but here you can brag about your sweater or about your new golf swing or about your meditation practice or whatever. This is where you can come, when there's some setbacks. This is where you can get, a helping hand. This is where you can get us support when you stumble, when things go wrong. And you're all awesome. I love this community, and let's be great together.
I love that. As you're talking, Jeff, I didn't realize that I've been sucked into a community with Instant Pots, It's these pressure cookers. And I'm like, oh, right. I just can't wait for the next recipe to come out. And here I am in a community and didn't even know it.
It's powerful, isn't it?
It is. It is very, very powerful. I'm on pins and needles to see the next post of the next recipe. But you're absolutely right. Building that community, just, I wouldn't have bought an Instant Pot to be part of the community, but it is one of those things that, when the next edition comes out with the pressure cooker and deep fryer all at once, I'm going to be first in line because it's going to get posted there. So you're absolutely right.
And how many people have you told about it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Everybody I've seen in person this year.
Exactly. And if it was just the last time you bought a frying pan, you probably didn't go around telling everyone about this frying pan. But this Instant Pot, where you got the support, where you got the community, where you've got support in getting better and having more success. And maybe there's a place where people can share their ideas and their innovations and their recipes. And all of a sudden you're having more success. You're seeing more other people having success. You're a fan. Of course, you're going to tell people about it.
Oh yeah. It's so bad. I have a family of 4. I already have 2 of them. We've even had Instant Pot funerals, where Instant Pot fell on the floor. We've had to mourn that loss with the community. But oh my goodness, I didn't even realize I was in a community until talking with you on that. Now, are there some things that we should look into building as we're building out communities? Are there some things that we need to do? And then also, how do we present our offer as we're building these communities, right? Because at the end of the day, having that community too is also about growing our business.
Right. Well, if you do it right, when you make the offer, you'll actually have your community cheering you on. We, in my business, one of the ways I've driven a lot of the traffic and a lot of the leads to my site, to me, is through what's known as affiliate marketing. So having people tell people about my offer, give them a link. If they drive people from that link and those people end up buying, then I give them a commission. So we're basically sharing the sale price. And if you look at the people who are my top affiliates over time, they're all my clients. They're all people that came up through the community. And you might be like, okay, well, that's great, but they're only doing that to make the money. But the reality is they have an infinite number of people that they could be promoting. If you're an affiliate marketer, it's endless, the stuff you can promote. But they choose to promote me, and many of them have for 10 years or more because of that community, because of that connection. So I think I got a little bit of a sidebar there from your actual question. So it was how do you make the offer?
Yeah. How do you sell within a community? Like I know whenever I like go visit family, that's part of my community. I always feel guilty like selling.
Right. Well, first of all, I mean, this whole process that I teach, this what we call a product launch formula, is all about delivering huge value before you ask for the sale. So it's structured. It's a series of content. It's usually 4 pieces of content, 3 pieces that lead into the sale, and the 4th that actually makes the offer. And if you do this right, you're actually building real value in this, what we call our pre-launch content. And there's a specific sequence you follow, but it's all about, it's a very empowering message. Whatever you're sharing, whether it's about Instapot or knitting or building an online business, it's all about showing people they have an opportunity to have a better life. It's about an opportunity. At the end of the day, we're all reducing pain or increasing pleasure for our clients. That's what we do. So it was, Instapot, the opportunity is to be able to make these great meals and make them simply and easily, and boom, and what is it like to have a family gather around a dinner? I mean, how powerful is that in this day and age? How incredibly, and maybe you're like, everyone's a little too busy. They're just running around, so much going on, but with an Instapot, you can make this meal and you can have that family dinner. So, I mean, that's really the opportunity here, right? Is to have amazing, nutritious food without a huge amount of work and end up being able to enjoy that meal, hopefully with loved ones. Or that might be for a certain avatar that you have, that could be it. Maybe there's singles, it's a slightly different messaging. But when you share that type of an empowering message, and then that's just the first piece of content, and there'll be a second piece, and that second piece is probably going to have some recipes, and it's going to get people to that transformation quicker. And the third one's about getting them really to enroll and having this new change in their life, whatever it is. Whether it's a hand knitted sweater or whether it's an amazing Instapot meal with your family. And so when you take people fall in love with you. It sounds crazy, but if you do this right, they fall in love with you, and the people in your community are going to be cheering you on. And then it's a matter of putting together a great offer. You have to make a decision whether this offer is for. So say you have a community, is that offer for the people that are in your community? Is this something that they can add on to whatever they've already purchased from you? Is it, so is this a new offer for them to join in and buy? Or maybe you're just relaunching the thing that they already own, and then you're just enlisting them to try to share this message with friends and families and colleagues. So, at the end of the day, it's a process where you just create great big value in people's lives, and then you give them opportunity to take the next step and join you on this journey that you're going to give them with the product. And the vast majority of people, whether they buy from you or not, are going to love you.
I love that. You just sold me a third Instant Pot. I didn't think about it the way that you just spend it. It's amazing. So tell me, like, as you're building a community, now that you've got your offer with this community, then how long does it take to build this community? How long of a journey is this? To get this $100,000 an hour sale.
Oh, okay. That landed the plane. Otherwise, it's a lifetime or it's 5 minutes, whichever you want. I think I can't remember exactly how Amy, where she was in terms of building her list. I think her list it's not. Well, I mean, when I talk about list, I'm always talking about an email list. Social media is really cool. It's a great way to build your audience, but at the end of the day, you want to push them from social onto an email list. And there's email lists are incredibly, incredibly powerful. I like to say that the only people that some people, it's like email, that's like 10 years ago. The email lists actually work, and I like to say that the only people that question whether email lists work are those people that don't have an email list. Because when you have an email list and you push that send button, it's amazing how it's instant traffic to wherever you want it to go, to your website, to your social, to a sales page. So you want to start building that email list. You can start publishing in social, start to find your voice in social. It's super easy. Anyone with a phone can be a publisher 5 minutes from now. Just when I say publisher, that means you're putting out some level of content. So it could be on Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be Pinterest, it could be YouTube, anywhere. So you can start publishing there, start building your following there, but then you'll push people to an email list. So you'll put together some type of a free offer where they can go get some additional, generally it'll be some content. They can go get a little mini course. They can go get a PDF. They can go get a white paper. They can go get a little mini video course or whatever, but you push them from social onto your, you'll send to a page, which we call an opt-in page or a squeeze page, where they have they go there, they just put their email in and they get that free, whatever it is. That whatever it is, we call a lead magnet. So it's that the lead magnet is what people opt in for. And then you've got their email address, and then you start to follow up with them. To get to $100,000 in an hour is, if everyone could do it super quick, they all would. It's going to take work, and it's going to vary by market. And it's going to vary by your offer. It's going to vary by everything, frankly, everything you bring to the table as a business person. I think Amy's list, gosh, for some reason, I think it was like around 18,000 people on that list to do $100,000 in an hour. But she put together a great offer, and she put together great marketing. By the way, she's like the last person in the world you would ever consider as a salesperson. She can't stand sales. It just gives her the heebie-jeebies. But she did 100. And you know what? The sales didn't stop after an hour. That launch in that 1 week, I think it was like over $400,000 in sales. Yeah. It's my first email went out to 17 people. And then it just grew. The second one went out to like 29 people. A few months later, went out to hundreds of people. A few months later, went out to thousands of people. And it's just a gradual process. I would think most people that are listening to this, if you have, everyone listening has got a business. So if you have a business, you have clients. You already have a list. You probably have an email list of some sort, but you have a current client list. And those are the kind of people you can reach out to and go through this launch process. And I'm not promising $100,000 in an hour or a week, but I think the results can be shocking.
Oh yeah, if I would present value your 34,000 that you made in a week way back in 1996, I mean that probably is a few $100,000 at this point. So definitely, it works. It definitely works. I remember, and I know you and I before we went online, we talked a little bit about the publishing business and book launches. And it brings it back down to like the email list. I have to confess, I'm one of those people. I had an email list, just because people were signing up for our classes or they were calling in and they had to put their email and phone number in, and I never used it. I never ever used it. It was literally come into an Infusionsoft, we would call the number and then we'd forget about it. And I remember like during our book launch, one of the first things they told us is, oh no, you need to warm up your list. You need to warm up your list of a few thousand people on this list and start sending out content to them. And, I never thought how powerful that list would be, but you're absolutely right, Jeff. I mean, that list there are people that looked you up for a reason. Even if they didn't buy from you initially, they looked you up for a reason. And definitely it makes at least a huge dent in book sales. So.
Right. It does. It's amazing. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, one of the things I want to do as we close out, and I love to pick your mind, is if you could leave our viewers and our listeners with one piece of advice, and it can be personal, it can be business, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh boy, that's an interesting question. Especially, I'm going to try to tailor it to your audience. I think in this day and age, everyone who's in business needs to be a publisher. You need to be a publisher, whether you're publishing to create awareness and build leads, whether you're reaching out to your current clients to build reciprocity and community, or whether you're looking to really build out the online portion of your business, you need to be in the publishing business. You need to regularly publish. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be hard. You can start off, like I said, with Instagram or Pinterest or YouTube or social or Facebook or wherever. But you need to be speaking to your current client, your current clients or your prospective clients, hopes, dreams, fears, frustrations, and show up in front of them regularly, and then drive people to an email list. And the effort you put into that, I think you'll find the ROI on that effort will be almost impossible to calculate over the years.
Oh, wow. That's really great advice. So everybody become a publisher, start small, start with that Instagram, that YouTube, just like Jeff says, and just give value, and then build your community that way. So that is amazing advice. Now, Jeff, you have an amazing new book that has actually just been released. And this podcast is going to come out pretty soon. So it's climbing the ranks pretty quickly, guys. It's going to be a Wall Street bestseller. How do we get a copy of this book? Where do we buy it from?
Any bookseller, it'll be there. I mean, the easiest will be Amazon. So if you just go to Amazon and you search for Jeff Walker Launch, it's there. Actually, if you go to, depending on exactly when this episode drops, if you go to thelaunchbook.com, there's going to probably be some extra bonuses that you can get when you get the book. So it all depends on the timing. But if you go to thelaunchbook.com, and what that page will basically it'll give you instructions. Just that will tell you to go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or wherever, buy the book, come back, put your receipt in, and then you can get some extra bonuses.
I love that.
But yep, it's available pretty much anywhere. It's just you get a few extra bonuses at thelaunchbook.com.
So go to thelaunchbook.com, and Jeff Walker is his name, just like it's spelled, Jeff, and then Walker, Walker. It's a big yellow orange book. You cannot miss it. Okay. You cannot miss this book. You've got to get it. It's an amazing book about really just growing your business and creating your own community so that you not only help others in a significant level on a more meaningful way, but it's easier, right? You don't have to go through that middleman, right? You don't have to go through that middleman. You interact with your customer. You see the value that you're giving, and you see the lives that you're touching. So this is an incredible book to get that. Thank you, Jeff. And how does everybody reach you, to contact you, to work with you?
I'll give a couple sites. First is just jeffwalker.com, just like it sounds, JEFFWALKER.com. And I publish there at least on a weekly basis. I put out generally a video every week. Or you can learn more about the Product Launch Formula, my online course, at productlaunchformula.com. Like, we only release that typically once a year, maybe twice a year. So there's just like a waiting list there right now, but that'll come out in November. We'll run another class.
Well, get on that waiting list quickly, guys, because he's pretty popular there. He's worked with some major authors and producers out there. So you definitely want to make sure you get on his wait list in order to work with him to help launch your product. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us today.
Thank you, Susanne.
Thank you.